Heyo, we're going to talk about research. So, in our last video, I introduced you to our research organizer, showed you some weird websites that probably weren't down for our research. They were just kind of odd, probably not accurate. So, we're going to show you how can you find accurate sources. So, the first place you can find them are our school databases. So helpful, and you will use them in college. Trust me. So where you find them are on our Verona webpage. Oh my God, look at their school. It's going to be so pretty. Hey, those are some cool kids. But anyway, you find it if you were to go to the homepage and click on the For Students tab. Okay. And then the At Your Library. And of course, high school library. The internet is slow right now. Anyway, a database is a place where all of the articles have been pre-checked by experts to make sure they are accurate. Ooh, that's sad. No. Anyway, a database is a place where all of the information has been checked by experts to make sure it's accurate, it's relevant, everything is what you need to be successful and not false. Is pretty cool. Um, it can be helpful for many topics, particularly if they are more academic. If they are not more academic, you may not find them helpful. But for example, some of you might pick topics that have to do with things that you care about, like climate change or immigration or um, gun reform. Like those are things that some kids pick, and they are things that kids care about. So you might pick it. So when you're on the high school webpage, one of the top things are research, and you click school databases. We have several of them. Some of them I'm going to click to you that you think are going to be helpful. Issues and controversies, points of view, New York Times, SIRS Researcher, Discovery Education, perhaps even Badger Link and Salem Press. Those are going to be, and Student Resources and Context. Those are going to be really helpful to you. So if I were going to go to, let's say, SIRS Researcher, again, it's loading. A lot of these databases are going to be, again, your more common topics. But let's say, for example, I was going to write about climate change. I've got climate change right here. The first thing that I get is a general summary of it. And then the next thing I get are the two viewpoints. One, that usually it's a serious threat, or no, it is not. And I get different articles about it. I get different questions to consider. You can usually get a timeline. It's pretty cool to think about in history, right? When I click on an article, one of the things I think is pretty cool is it actually will play and read out loud to you. I can, on the right-hand side, I can save it to my Google Drive and read later. I can cite it. So if I'm writing a paper, I can, oh, look at that. I can get my citation right away without having to remind myself. So I can get my sources right here without having to do a whole lot of work. Brilliant, okay? You can also search up here. So let's say I was autism. Okay, my brother has autism, my brother-in-law, excuse me, and something I really care about. So I can look up this because, again, this is something I care about. Um, and here I have information. Pretty cool, right? If I were to go back to the Verona Library, hopefully it lets me go back that far. This might be, should have saved that page. Oh, it's a race, okay? Another thing I can do is I can take a look at, for example, um, points of view. World Book is helpful. A lot of these are really, really helpful in those regards. Points of view, I think you can search by different type of source. Science, topics, culture. These are all a really great source. Okay. Um, the other thing you can do when you are at the high school is you can look for books. So let's say I wanted to look for things that have to do with medieval. Site search in. What I think is really, really helpful is sometimes a book can be more helpful than you realize. You don't have to necessarily search or help. Um, you know, this is probably much more broad, but you never know. So, for example, something about the early Middle Ages might have information for me, or the medieval world. Those two might help me. But for example, one about the Crusades or the medieval knight, probably not helpful. Okay? So sometimes a database or a library book can help me. And also, Miss Foss, the librarian, can help. Sometimes you might actually just need to use Google. Google can be helpful. I use Google all the time. But you notice when I was searching for Google and I just typed in medieval English queens, that was crazy. But if we go back, remember, I had reasons that I was trying to prove, right? I was trying to talk about queens as foreign diplomats or ruling in times of crisis or leading movements. Okay? So if I were to Google ruling medieval English queens, okay, I'm being strategic. I'm not typing an entire sentence. I'm thinking, I want to know if any of these words exist. Okay? Some of the things that I might get are the same kinds of hits again and again and again. But it's something new that pops up, Partners in Rule, a study of 12th century queens in England. So I noticed that when I shifted the way that I searched, I got different things, right? So again, I found a new source, okay? So I can always go back and read that at a later time, okay? Other things that we can do is when I search, one of the things that it pulled up is it gives me suggestions. So it gave me suggestions of different queens. So I noticed that it's bringing me suggestions of specific queens. So perhaps maybe I click on one and see what it brings up. So if I bring up a specific queen and I learn more about this queen, I can learn more specifics. So then, therefore, it's not just so broad anymore, right? So instead of me just, I want to learn about all the queens possible, Google will give me suggestions and then I can narrow my focus. The other thing I can do is if I have my tools up here. Oops, sorry. If I go to settings, oops, never mind. I have any time, so I can see how recent things are, all results, okay? Okay. The other thing that can be really helpful is something called Google Scholar. I never know how to get there, so I just literally Google Scholar. Google Scholar often tries to filter out all of the things that are not academic or helpful for school. This depends on what your topic is. So when I type my search topic in, I have much more academic topics, right? But it all depends on what your topic is. If I'm researching Michael Jordan, this probably isn't the best source for you. So just be aware of Google. Google is a wonderful thing, but if we just type in like war medieval English queens strong feminist icons, you may not get all that you want, right? You might get some hits, but you may not get every single thing that you want. You might need to be creative, okay? Powerful medieval queens of England. So changing the way that we search, okay? Going to the next page sometimes, right? Seeing the different things that we can find, all right? Hopefully that helps you, and I will help you if you need it.